Hi everyone, and welcome to Let's Just Say From Home, part of Go Comedy Improv Theater's virtual platform, DigiGo. Now if you're just tuning in, Let's Just Say is a show about stories. These are real life stories that are about 7 minutes or less, told by the people who live them. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're sad, but they're always real. My name is Alex Ketchum, and you're probably wondering why I'm dressed like a maitre d' from your worst nightmare. Well, there's a very good reason for that. That's because tonight's theme is unusual dining experiences. I'm sure we've all had one, and I know I have. I lived in Japan for 5 years, and I had a lot of weird dining experiences, but I'd like to tell you a quick story, as is tradition from the host, about my first weird dining experience in Japan. And it was my welcome dinner for the school that I was going to be an English teacher at. Well, I arrived one night before, pretty late, about 11 o'clock, and we went and we had quesadillas. And I knew that there was going to be a big welcome dinner because that's the tradition. And I thought getting off with quesadillas was pretty lucky because they usually like to, test your mettle when they first meet you. Or so I'd heard. But I'd also made a promise to myself that no matter what it is, I'm going to eat it. At least once. I'll try it and see, and to be polite at least. So with quesadillas, I was like, all right, I got lucky. But the next night, after my first full day of work, I discovered that the real welcome dinner was going to happen. We had it at a very formal Japanese restaurant with the entire staff. And right off the bat, with the appetizers, we had this little seaweed salad and another small dish that caused me to have a small panic attack inside. Wouldn't let it show. But because it looked like it was raw chicken. And from where I'm from, if you walk in a room with raw chicken, like you take a bath. You can't be too careful around that stuff. And everybody here is just reaching in with the chopsticks and taking little bites, and dipping it in like a soy sauce or something. And I just my inner monologue was going, that looks like raw chicken. That can't be raw chicken. It couldn't be raw chicken. No one eats raw chicken. That's crazy. This is crazy. Wow, what's going on here? But, again, I made a promise to myself that I would try anything. So I just convinced myself that it couldn't be what I thought it was, and just took a piece and dipped it and ate it. And lo and behold, it was delicious. So then I asked my boss, Oki Sensei, and I was like, Oki Sensei, what is it? It's raw chicken. Man, my heart stopped. I was like, what? Well, come to find out, like the chicken over there is not as medically enhanced as we often have ours, and it was probably killed by the guy who served it. Very fresh. And apparently if you do it that way, you won't die. I'm not going to test that theory again, especially not stateside, but I do have the badge of honor to say that I have eaten raw chicken and not died. And that's my story about my first weird dining experience in Japan. Now up next we have 3 excellent storytellers for you. The first one is a returning storyteller to Let's Just Say, and she is one half of the Homance Chronicles, which can be found wherever you get your podcast. It's a really entertaining podcast. I have a lot of friends who are big fans. You can also find the Homance Chronicles on Instagram at Homance_Chronicles. And you can find her at Gypsy Magic Official. Please welcome Nicole Bonville.
Thank you for having us back. And I know that it's obviously super weird right now with the pandemic and everything, but we'll try to make this as entertaining as possible from my kitchen/living room. Just to be authentic, I do have a drink, and I may have already had 1 or 3. And when I was asked to share a story, not only could I not think of anything, but did I procrastinate. So now I'm recording this at 11 p.m. on a Friday, and I feel like I look like that. So please excuse whatever's going on here because it's been quite a week. But we're gonna go back to a time a couple of years ago I really had a tough time thinking about like I don't know, a bad food experience that wasn't gross. So this is going to have some twists and turns, but there is food at the core of this story. Ultimately, I hate having to explain, I guess, how bougie I am, but you will see that this is me fancy AF, but also with a ratchet side. If you listen to my podcast, you'll know that that's normal for me. That is not uncommon for me to have both sides come out in one evening. This is the perfect example of a time that that's happened. I was in Las Vegas for work, and I think this was 2 years ago now. It was probably my 5th or 6th time going. Most of the times I've been for work, and Vegas is not one of my favorite places. It's just truly not. It is sensory overload. It's dirty. I don't know. I don't gamble. It's just not my scene. 2 things that I like about it though: food and shows. And I was out there with a coworker / friend, and we decided to stay a little bit extra time because we had to work like the whole week. So you might as well just, extend it another night. Have a little, free time. And in preparation of this free night, we actually planned for quite a while and thought about what kind of food we wanted to have. We went to the Gordon Ramsay restaurant called Steak at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. And I mean, it's a little bit of a pricier restaurant, but what's not, honestly, in Vegas? All of them are. As I was going back through my pictures of that night, I realized that I had forgotten about some of the glorious things that I had ate. And I'm kind of bummed out that right now we can't go to restaurants and eat those glorious things again. I've been doing plenty of door dashing, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. That night though, I was at a restaurant called Steak, so of course I had like a ton of meat. What else do you do at a steakhouse? So beef carpaccio with like a deviled quail egg, a pork chop that was like as big as my head, Brussels sprouts, baklava. Oh no, not a baklava. Just kidding. A pavlova. That's what it's called. And some Whispering Angel rosé. Oh, there's of course some pea soup on the menu because it's like a British steakhouse because it's Gordon Ramsay, and the chef didn't want to serve it because of the texture. So I'm probably one of the only people on the planet who's bummed out that they couldn't get the pea soup, but that's reality. The whole reason we picked this restaurant is because my friend / coworker wanted the beef Wellington. She got it. She was extremely pleased. Everything was delicious besides the whole like pea soup thing happening. We had an amazing time, stuffed to the brim. When we leave, there was an Uber like situation outside where you had to go to a designated area, and our Uber picks us up in like a big SUV of sorts and kind of takes us a back way to our hotel. All of a sudden, we realize that we are at the corner where Tupac got shot. And so if you're anything like me and love 90s hip hop, you have to pause and take a moment and reflect on the history and appreciate where you are. Because if it's as memorable for you from the 90s as it is for me, then that is like a big piece of history. And our Uber driver even acted out the shooting and pretended that he was like Suge Knight because, Suge only got some shrapnel. He didn't really get like hit. So he was like acting it out, and we were all having a great time. But to cap this whole thing off, the glorious food that I had purchased, I knew was going to be way over my expense report budget. So I paid for the majority of it by myself. And then I submitted my dinner allotment to my boss to be reimbursed. She gave me a hard time about it because I had to submit the whole itemized receipt. She was like, I really hope $150 for one meal was worth it. That was the attitude that I saw, like, as it was coming through an instant message, though. I mean, she didn't say that to my face, but I had to explain to her that there was an experience and that I would pay more, actually, for that whole night. And that, yes, I planned on it being that expensive. So just, why do you have to say anything? Just give me my money for my expense report and be on with your life, So anyway, that's my food story. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. Have a good one.
Thanks, Nicole. Now, our next storyteller is a member of Pointless Theater and Brewery's League of Pointless Improvisers. And he's also one of the founding fathers of DIF, the Detroit Improv Festival. But he's probably best known for his involvement in a lot of charities around the Detroit area, including the Gilda House of Detroit. Take it away, Chris Moody.
So my idea of an unusual meal really didn't have anything to do with the food itself. It happened when we were in Chicago. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, went to Chicago to visit up with my family who were in town for an Eagles game against the Bears. And there was a restaurant down the street called Boca de Beppo, which I think there's one in Northville or Novi or somewhere. But this particular one was right off the Magnificent Mile. We went there for dinner. It was a lovely meal. We had something Italian. I probably had chicken parmesan because that's what I do, because I know what I like and I like what I know, and I very rarely stray outside of my comfort zone. So most of my unusual meals are not too unusual for me. Anyway, back to the story. So we're at the Boca de Beppo, and there's about 10 of us at the table, and there's two tables next to us of two couples, and they were kind of in on the conversation, asking questions about our group, because I think we might even been wearing Philadelphia Eagles logo wear. But both couples were involved with talking about everything with my family. So we wound up having dinner, and one of the couples, the gentleman, got up out of his seat and said, I have an announcement to make, got down on one knee and proposed to his girlfriend, and it was great. She said yes, and it was just an amazing, fun experience. We wound up staying there much longer than we planned, just to kind of celebrate with them, because there was a really nice couple. So as we're having drinks after dinner, after the couple has already said their yeses and are talking with us, the other couple on the other side, the gentleman gets up and says, I too have an announcement to make, and got down on one knee, proposed to his girlfriend, and she started freezing up and said, I think his name was Roger. Roger, we really need to talk about this. And she started getting really emotional and got up out of her seat and went outside. She said she needed to call her mom. When she got up out of her seat, the gentleman who had proposed was like, oh my gosh, she is so happy right now. She's so happy that she couldn't tell me yes. But when she comes back, it's going to be great, and we're gonna party with you, with everyone else for the rest of the night. I'm just so excited that we could do something like this. And I think it was my dad or my brother or someone said, well, tell us about, how long have you been seeing each other? And he said, oh, this is like our third date. We've known each other for about a month, but when I saw the other couple propose, I knew this was the perfect time to do it. And we all looked at each other, and we just had nothing to say to him. The woman came back to the table and obviously was crying outside and said, we really need to go because I just feel bad. And he kept pushing it. So so is that a yes? did you talk to your mom? How does she feel? Is everything? And at the time we were just sitting at the table, just wishing that we kept it to one proposal for the night, because really that's all we could handle. So they wound up leaving, and that was really the night that we felt like. That was October of 2004. I proposed just about 2 months earlier to Beverly. So we knew that the way that we did it was probably better off than the way that the second gentleman did it. So hopefully they got married. Hopefully they have kids that are probably, I don't know, 14 years old now, 15 years old, and are in high school or whatever 14 and 15-year-olds do. So that's my own story of an unusual meal. Hopefully you don't have any awkward, unusual meals in your future. Thanks.
Welcome back. This is Bristol. She is mine and my girlfriend's pet, and she is very special to us. And our next speaker has a great story about a special pet to him. He is one of Go Comedy's resident artists who recently moved to New York, and you can find him on Instagram with the Death Star News. And he also, this will calm down. He also has a podcast on Gabber Media called the Buck 50 Social Club. Please welcome Mike Magyar.
Hi everybody, my name is Mike Magyar and this is a story. As some of you may or may not know, I grew up in Romania during the 1990s, and at that time I would spend the school year in the city with my parents and the summer with my great-grandmother on her farm. The farmhouse was made of dirt. The outsides were straw and dirt, and the floor was just compacted dirt. So anytime that anyone would spill water on the floor, it would turn into a nightmare slip and slide. On her farm, there was a lot of livestock and animals and different kinds of people, I suppose. I don't know why. There's this one specific animal that I would like to talk to you about now, and this was a pig, okay? And this pig was the size of a small Volkswagen. And I remember being so scared by this pig that I refused to go anywhere near the yard when it was time for it to go eat. It was big and loud and scary and smelly, and I am convinced that it would eat anything in its path, because anytime that thing went out to eat, we would have to lock up all the chickens and dogs and cats. So anyway, one day I'm hanging out in the courtyard, just minding my own business. I think I'm around 8 years old at this time, playing with a stick. I think I was trying to see if I could get a stick to make a rock shiny. Anyway, so I'm sitting in this courtyard. All of a sudden, I hear the door to the pig's pen swing open, and this giant beast from hell just starts charging out of the pen. Why didn't anybody warn me that it was feeding time? And also, what do I do? Like, I gotta run. So I run up the stairs onto the porch of the house and into the foyer. Earlier, someone had spilled a bunch of water on the floor. It was incredibly slippery. And as I'm taking the corner trying to escape this pig, my feet completely shoot out from underneath me, and I eat shit. I'm laying there on the ground, terrified of being eaten alive by this pig, and I don't know, just instinctually swing my leg and I kick the door shut, and then the pig doesn't come in and eat my face off. But I was pissed at that point, okay? I decided that I was gonna go talk to my parents and that we needed to get rid of this pig. And I made a list of all the reasons that I wanted to get rid of this pig. It's mean, it's ugly, it's big, it's aggressive. None of the other animals like it at all. But my parents wouldn't have it, because it turns out that this pig was kind of like the village's pig Casanova. Kind of a moment where I was like, okay, you know what? Fine. If you're not gonna get rid of this pig, then I guess I just have to move on with my life and make double sure all the time that I will not be outside when this pig is in the yard. And I don't want it to seem like all of the relationships I had with the animals on the farm were negative. I remember one time my great-grandma got a bunch of chickens from a neighbor that were tiny, like just chick size. And as they were growing up, I noticed that one of the chickens was kind of a loner. Like he wouldn't really hang out with anybody else and would just kind of follow me around. And as time went on, I kind of developed a relationship with this chicken. We used to hang out all the time. I named him Tarzan and trained him to come to me when I whistled or called his name. I still remember, I used to have this gigantic stick and I would sit in the yard because I would have to guard the other chickens from like hawks and vultures and stuff like that. And Tarzan would sit on my lap and I would feed him from my hand and pet him and he would fall asleep, and the whole thing was very cute and very beautiful. This chicken and I grew so close that anytime I went outside, he would just wait for me. It got to the point where I was able to train him to stand on my shoulder and we would just kind of walk around and wander, go into the forest and see all the neighbors, and this chicken and I were completely inseparable. The summer went on and we got tighter and tighter, and then it became time to go back home. Usually when it was time to go back home, took about an hour or so to pack up the car. So my parents started packing up the car and I wanted to go outside and say goodbye to Tarzan. We had just eaten dinner and we had kind of like a whole big family dinner thing, kind of like a end of summer goodbye sort of situation. I remember going outside and trying to look for Tarzan and whistling and clapping and calling out his name, going all up and down the yard. Nothing, no Tarzan anywhere. Just no signs of life from that chicken at all. I'm starting to get worried, I'm starting to get kind of concerned, and I go and I ask my parents and I say, hey, can you guys come help me out? I need to find Tarzan so I can say goodbye. And they didn't really, they kind of helped. They were doing that thing where like, oh yeah, let's go look. I'm sure he's around, whatever, don't worry about it. Eventually they packed up the car and they said it's time to go. And I, at this point, drew a line in the sand. I was like, you know what? No. At the beginning of the summer, you guys didn't stick by me when I told you to kill the murderous pig. So right now, we're not going anywhere until we find Tarzan, okay? So we're looking for 15, 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden, my grandma pulls me aside, and she goes, hey, there's something I need to talk to you about. And I'm like, what? What is it? Hurry up so I can go find Tarzan. And she goes, look, your great-grandma forgot which chicken Tarzan was. And earlier today, she grabbed it and cooked it for dinner. And the dinner that we all had earlier as a family was Tarzan. That just like shattered me as a kid, because I was like, I don't understand. What is you guys' problem? Like what you won't take care of this insane pig, but like you killed my best friend because you forgot what he looked like? I walked around with this chicken all the time. There was no way that you forgot. And it just didn't matter, because that was just life on the farm back then. It was a working farm, so you weren't supposed to get attached to the animals or whatever, because eventually they were all gonna become food. I developed such a deep grudge for this pig, because I took all the sadness that I had from Tarzan and I just kind of directed it and focused it right into the pig. And to this day, I remember the day that pig died. The pig died of old age. I was so happy. Tarzan finally got justice. In some weird, convoluted way, Tarzan got justice. In case anybody doesn't, believe that the story is real, or you think I'm making it up or whatever, I'm going to play this clip for you. That was my story. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. And if you're able to, please consider donating the cost of an improv show ticket to Go Comedy to help keep them going during this insane time that we all find ourselves in. And check out some of their other videos that we've posted online during this time. Thank you very much.
So that's it for this episode of Let's Just Say From Home. I hope you enjoyed all the stories, and I'd like to give a big thank you to all of our storytellers. And remember, if you have a story that you can base loosely around the theme of origins, please email us at letsjustsay@gocomedy.net or hit us up on Facebook. Let's Just Say has its own page. You can find it. You know where it is. A big thank you to Go Comedy. Please check out all the content they have. Check out their YouTube page. DigiGo has a lot of great stuff, including DigiBits, an online sketch movie competition going on right now. That's great. I guess that's about it. So until next time, guys, my name is Alex Ketchum. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe.